I'm Peggy Kelly, and this is Good Morning Santa Paula. It's Thursday, January 14th, and our guest today is Santa Paula's mayor, Carlos Juarez. And Carlos was just became mayor in December, and this is his second appearance. And gosh knows there's plenty to talk about. So, good morning. How are you, Carlos?
Good morning, Peggy Kelly, and good morning, Santa Paula, and it's great to be here.
Yes, I noticed you're sitting in a suit in your yard. You look very, very casual uh, and nice in the heat.
Well, for many months when we were broadcasting, I was doing it from my storage room, which is my office. But it's such a nice day today. I thought, why not sit out here and just enjoy Santa Paula weather in February?
Yes, the famous Santa Paula January,
I mean,
kiddo.
weather.
See, we're off on a good foot. We're off on the same foot. That's what's scary. Okay. Okay, now we've got a lot to talk about today. Now, COVID testing. I know that they've been doing it over on Ojai Street off of Main Street there, and that's it's not a. So they're going to be moving that testing site, aren't they? The county.
Yes, and when they first started it, it wasn't that big of a deal because they were running people through fairly quickly and it was open several days a week. But as people found out the ease of coming to Santa Paula, and I imagine people that weren't from Santa Paula were coming because I saw a lot of cars that I didn't recognize, but the line started to grow longer. It would go up Ojai Street to Santa Barbara Street, and then it would loop around down 10th Street. And if that wasn't bad enough, then it started looping around down Main Street to 11th Street, and then sometimes they made it go down Main Street to 12th Street. Well, that isn't so bad in and of itself, but there's people that live and work in that block and the surrounding area, and it was just getting increasingly difficult for folks to pull in and out of their respective driveways or go to lunch, and people waiting in line sometimes get a little upset, and so there was some words exchanged, and finally there was enough complaints that the county decided to find an alternate location. So they were supposed to move a couple of days ago on the 10th to Harding Park, which is over there by the Boys and Girls Club and the baseball fields. There's some technical issues they're working through, and they're hoping within the next week or two to move that whole testing facility to Harding Park.
That's good. Yes, because I mean it would go the line stretches for blocks, and not only that, on each side it's only a two-way street. So it was also kind of a little bit of course 10th Street's a little wider than your usual street, but still it was a little bit of a hazard. So, but I know people have really been turning out to get their vaccinations, and that's next, but to get their tests, and that's the good news. Now with the number of cases rising, and Santa Paula has got the highest amount of cases per capita as of yesterday. That's very concerning. But the Parks and Recreation Department's going to be making some changes. Would you like to tell the audience what changes they're contemplating?
They are. Well, first backing up a little bit, they realized that a lot of these transmissions were from social gatherings, and
Right.
and there was a spike right after Thanksgiving, and then it settled down a little bit. There was a spike between Christmas and New Year's, and so it's a foregone conclusion that the gatherings are where these infections are spreading. So the city is trying to limit the amount of people that or interact in large functions, or at least in common areas. And one of those is the Parks and Recreation Department. So the city made a decision to go ahead and limit the staffing beginning on Tuesday the 19th. Now the staff will still be available to help our local residents either through the main phone line or by email. And the phone number there is 805-933-4226.
Mm-hmm. And any ideas? Of course, I guess it depends upon the numbers of COVID. No idea at this point how long this might last.
No, and I haven't heard of a sunset date for that limiting of services, but we are in the higher tier. So I think until we get to the next threshold, I think that's when things will start to open up just a little bit. Now, one thing that I do want to add, and that is it was publicized in today's in local other medias, but the governor had changed some of the requirements for the COVID vaccinations. They changed it to a 65 and older tier. That's going to be the what's called the first tier phase 1B group, and that group will include folks 65 or older. It will include teachers, law enforcement, farm workers, and the grocery store workers, among others. And you know, it really has hit our farm worker population and our grocery store workers because they are involved with people on a daily basis and in limited, you know, places where they can social distance. So I'm glad that those vaccinations are coming, and they are making efforts to vaccinate those folks first. And you can also, one thing you can do is you can go ahead and register, and the site is www.venturacountycover.org/vaccinate. And you can put yourself on a list, and when those vaccinations become available, you'll be notified. So I
Yeah.
think that's important for folks to know that they don't have to just sit and wait. And then when the time comes, of course, they can either go to their doctors to get the vaccination.
Is that what they're going to allow people to go to their own physicians or?
Yeah, because when available, the public can also go to their doctor or pharmacy to receive the
Oh,
vaccine.
okay, interesting. Yes. Well, I know that CVS and Rite Aid and all those places are where I get my flu shots now, so that'll probably be the same place I go and get my vaccine, as it were. Now, the interesting thing is that I know that Rite Aid and CVS also used to do like flu shot clinics, and they would go out and they had a regular route where they would go to mobile home parks here in Santa Paula. Do you think there's any possibility they might do the same thing for vaccinations?
Gosh, you know, that's a good question because if you recall, when the senior center would have their big events, they would send Rite Aid would send folks out there to vaccinate the seniors, anybody that wanted a vaccination. So I don't know. I think it would depend on the restrictions that the governor puts on interacting and going to people's houses. But I know one thing that Rite Aid does do. If you're up for a vaccination, sometimes they'll call you. Like when I was due for a shingles shot, they called me and said, you know, you're due. So hopefully they'll have a list of their clients that reach these thresholds and make those notifications to advise people to come down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's going to be the most popular place to be is getting that vaccination as soon as we're able to get it. Um, Now, also we're looking at as far as Mayans MC is coming back to film some more in Santa Paula. Would you like to talk about that? Number one, tell people what the series is.
Well, the Mayan TV show, I have not seen it, so you probably know more about it than I do. But one thing that was controversial about that when they came the last time, as you know, is they filmed a border town with immigration cars and immigration personnel, and I don't think we did a good enough job as a city and as public relations to let folks know, because right away on social media there was alerts going out that immigration was in town, and of course with the fear that most folks have of ICE, it really sent a chill down into the community. So we really do need to make a better effort to notify when these things occur. And that's what they're going to do. In fact, I spoke to John Marquez this morning from the chamber, and he is working with the Mayan crew and the film crews, and they really want to do a better job of notifying our residents that, this is just filming and they're going to be here for a few days. And it really does a whole lot, because you recall back in the day when we had film companies in town all the time. It really benefits the businesses, the people, and just the fact it puts us on the map and it gets people to come to Santa Paula. So I think this is a good thing. It's, as you know, it does impact, the parking downtown. Well, not now because there's not much to go to eat, but it does impact downtown when they come and film. But, over the years, you see just all these movies and commercials and music videos that put Santa Paula on the map. So they are going to be coming back into town. And again, I'm sorry, I couldn't tell you what the show is about. Maybe you know more than I do, the Mayans.
All I know is it's based on another show. It's the offshoot of another show, which I have also never seen, and that was called The Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
And I guess that was about a motorcycle gang. And I guess Mayans MC is for Mayans Motorcycle Club. I'm not even sure. I know it's very, very popular. And and it's a motorcycle gang, but I guess with a Latinx slant, as it were. So, and it's a very popular show, and I know people were quite thrilled that they were coming to Santa Paula to film. And they were a very nice crew too, I might add. Excuse me. And it was very unfortunate. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat, and all it knows is melancholy baby, but excuse me. But I know that it's very lucrative too for the merchants, because they pay the merchants for any impacts. They they get permits. It can be a win-win, and they certainly seemed like a very cooperative group. And I'm I know they regretted the confusion and the misunderstanding about the last time, but that'll be fine this time. Sometimes that's how you learn, unfortunately, you know.
Yeah, and you know when they were doing this filming this last time, if you recall, behind Kmart, they built a small section of a border wall, and you drive on the freeway and you saw it from a distance, and unless you knew what you were looking at, you couldn't tell, and it was used as part of the filming. But they go to great lengths to to bring other locations in the world into places that normally wouldn't exist, and that's a fine example.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of how special Santa Paula is, I guess the fire memorial is moving around. Could you explain to the audience what the fire memorial is? Excuse
Of
me.
course. So, for years and years, we had our own fire department, and it started when we had our downtown fire in 1903, and it burnt downtown, and that's when bucket brigades didn't work, so they started the volunteer fire department. So for many years, we had our own fire department, and it was a volunteer fire department. But the county used the building that they built at 8th and Santa Barbara as its first 24-hour station in Santa Paula. So it was a county fire station, but it was within Santa Paula. And then later on, they moved that building when they moved the headquarters to where the community center is now. And then, of course, now they moved over to Camarillo. But Santa Paula was a starting point for fire safety in the county, and that building, that 8th in Santa Barbara, has been in disrepair for many years. But about 5 years ago, several people got together and said, we need to make it not look like the broken window theory, where somebody will see a broken window and they'll throw another and break another window, and pretty soon it just looks really bad. So they spent some time and money and raised some money and started doing exterior repairs of windows and plaster and painting, and it made it look really nice. And then Gary Naves, who wrote an American Bloom, came over and did the landscaping and used drought tolerant plants and made it look at least like it was an abandoned building. And
Yeah.
then why don't we make it into a fire memorial? So you recall several years ago, retired Chief Rick Ariza, who's also a council member, former mayor, he was able to request from the Port Authority of New York to get a section of one of the Twin Towers. And so we have that in our possession. And so there's a design that's been approved, and it's putting a 3-part mural on the front of that building. And then the front is going to be laid with bricks of anybody, fire personnel, and anybody that wants to buy a brick. And on the west side, it's going to be a little kind of a triangle shaped park with an obelisk that looks very similar, but not as big as a police memorial. And on top is going to sit the section of one of the Twin Towers. So it's going to be the Fire Heritage Memorial and the 9/11 Park. And the reason it's called the Fire Heritage is because if you say it's a memorial, it automatically makes you think somebody has died. And fortunately, we haven't had any fire personnel die, but we have a lot of fire heritage, and that's why it's going to be called the Fire Heritage Memorial and 9/11 Park. And we started, as I said, about 5 years ago, and COVID just put a stop to everything this last year, fundraising, sizing, all that stuff. But we just had a meeting yesterday, and out of the 11 current committee members, there were 9 on the Zoom meeting, 2 just couldn't make it. But everybody is very enthusiastic about moving forward, and there's going to be a presentation on the 20th to the council, which is a meeting before. Then it's presented to see if the city will accept that project as a park. Because as you know, back when we did the police memorial, kind of the same thing in 2010, they started going forward with a concept idea. They went to the city, and then the city approved it, and they built the police memorial. Kind of the same thing happened kind of in reverse with the farm workers memorial. So we're just very very lucky that we have so much history in town with the murals and the museums and these monuments, and dedicated to different aspects of life that exist within our city. And that's going to be a draw in the future. So I'm hoping that this will be the west bookend of which is called the Heritage Path there on Santa Barbara Street.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, we do have the police memorial there, and you were very involved in that. And you're a retired police lieutenant, so you were one of the people. So you were one of the spearheaders of the fire memorial, also, or the Heritage Memorial, Fire Heritage. And it's it takes a brick at a time sometimes, but I think that's great that anybody can get a brick. Now you're going to be having an outreach start pretty soon to get people to perhaps donate or
Yes,
more.
both not only to donate or sponsor portions of the memorial, but also if somebody wants to memorialize or honor someone in their family or a business with a brick. And there's 4x8 bricks and 12x12 bricks. Then we'll have examples to show people at the time as well.
Yeah, and if anybody in town or out of town has been to the police memorial, and the obelisk is beautiful, and they've got the beautiful brickwork, and I see people there all the time. And it's wonderful too, because it just keeps continuing all these monuments we have and all these attractions, starting on, what is it? I guess it's starting on East Santa Barbara, and we've got the bears, and we've got the rolling granite ball, and then we've got the depot, the historic depot, and the gazebo, and the police memorials in between it, and then we've got the farm worker memorial, and then we'll go across the it's amazing, it really is. Somebody calling me to tell me how amazing it is, but anyway. So what we can do is, let me go ahead and say, so I'm excited about it, and people will be able to just go ahead and make their donations. Also, you'll have it online. Do you have a website yet for the fire memorial?
We do. I don't have that in front of me, but we can do another public publicity article here soon.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's going to be wonderful. And that just brings visitors, and it brings there's a lot of fire history out here in Santa Paula, like you said. So that's just wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss, that anything that's come up in your mind since we've started this?
Yeah, two more things. I think you heard, and most of the public has heard, that Mary Alice Orkin Henderson just passed away, and she was instrumental in a lot of things. Everything from the Art Society to the Warning to the Ghost Walk, and the Santa Paula Historical Society. Well, just before she passed, she reminded me that Doug and I have signed on to finish the dam project, right? Yeah. Well, that's kind of funny saying, but he has and has been working with Doug Nelson on a project called the Flood Path, and it comes from the portion in the book about St. Francis Dam that's called the Path of Destruction. And what she and Doug Nelson have decided to do is to right there from the Warning, the motorcycles, there's going to be a path, a mosaic path going east beyond probably the Bears, and at the Bears is going to be a plinth, which is going to look like the leftover section of the St. Francis Dam, and it'd be a bronze plaque there telling what happened when it occurred. And then along the flood path is going to be hourglasses that show when it reached different, like when it reached Edison Camp, and when it reached Piru, and when it reached Fillmore, and when it reached Santa Paula, and then when it hits the ocean, it'll be right at the Warning. And so that was a 10-year project that she wanted to see completed by the anniversary, March 12th of 2028. That'll be the 100-year anniversary of the St. Francis Dam. So I gave her my assurances that I would work towards its completion. That gives us about 8 years.
And it shall be done.
It shall be done. And if you know Mary Alice, if she asks you to do something, you better get it done.
Absolutely. Bless
The other thing I wanted to add, talking about the Heritage Corridor there, is Dan Singer sent me an update that the depot is going to be painted, and it's going to begin, let's see the date. February 1st, the work begins to repair and repaint the train depot, and they believe it's going to be a 45-day project.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, and somehow I didn't mention the Warning when I was talking about all the monuments, and that's my favorite. So, that goes to show you. Well, that's great. And it's very true that, there's a lot of work that's being done that's really of such wonderful historical interest, as well as practical work, but also, just things to celebrate our heritage and everything. So, Carlos, as always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Peggy.
And once again, this is Good Morning Santa Paula. I'm Peggy Kelly of the Mighty Santa Paula Times. If you'd like to watch this, it's going to be broadcast on Channel 10, Spectrum Cable Channel 10, or you can go to kadytv.net. And if you watch it on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, It's free, and it helps us get more broadcasting out there. And once again, I'd like to thank Carlos Juarez, Mayor of Santa Paula, for joining us today and updating us on many important issues.
Thank you, Peggy, for your time, and as always, and the Mighty Santa Paula Times.
Okay, thank you. And you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.